Welcome back to the Jank Factory, everybody. We're going to do something a little bit different here. There's a new set being released in just a few days, and I'm not going to be putting any gameplay videos up that are from a format that is going to be dead in 3 or 4 days. So I released my last gameplay video from Theros Beyond Death on Monday the 13th, and what I'm going to do now instead is sort of a review of Ikoria Lair Behemoths Sundered Bond by Django Wexler. I'm going to start off with no spoilers. I'm just going to give general information about the book. And that general information is that we were given half of the book with half of the story. I'm sure Django wrote more, and the writing hasn't really struck me as bad. But for whatever reason, we were missing a lot of information from what we should know going on. For example, we don't know who's behind the monsters attacking the city of Drannith because of the formation to the north. We don't know where Narset is. Narset's mentioned once in the entire book when Vivian says, "Oh, I wish Narset was here. It's a shame I don't know where she is. She could be anywhere on this plane doing anything. You never know." In one sentence, basically. So we missed the entire Narset story arc. Narset, Vivian, Luca, all together. Who knows what happened there? It's really is just a partial story. I was very upset with the lack of world building and information that we were provided, and apparently my cats are fighting right now. Whoops. Cats, please stop. So that's it. That is the gist of the story. We didn't get enough information. We don't know enough about what's going on. There was a decided lack of information on Narset, even though she's mentioned in the book once, and she's on the plane in the set. Apart from that, the story and the cards don't line up either. They don't. There are some certain cards that mostly revolve around Luca that are the opposite of what happens in the story, or at the very least something that never did happen in the story. I don't know exactly why, but I mean, honestly, this could have been an epic book, an epic story if we had been given more than 150 some odd pages. It could have been great. I think the world is full of great, vibrant characters that we could learn more about. Obviously, great beasts that we could learn more about as well. But this has been the no spoiler version, more or less, of the review for the book. Now, if you don't want to know anything else about the book, stop. At the very end of this video, I'm going to have speculation on who's behind everything, and if you're wanting to get to that, I'll let you know where that is too. But generally, yeah, spoiler-free version. We got half the book. We're missing a lot of the story, and some of the characters that are in the set don't show up at all, and some of the cards that are in the set fly in the face of what actually happens in the story. Now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm getting into the actual story. We start out with Luca and his team of Coppercoats out in the third ring of Drannith, which is a city that's basically built in multiple rings of defense that is doing its best to try to protect the people from monster invasions. Once you get out to like the third and fourth ring of the city, there's not a whole lot of civilization. It's mostly fields for herds to graze and things like that. He's there with a group that include his second in command, who is a very hard woman who will always get the job done. Some twins who like to hit things with big, heavy weapons. And what seems to be a sniper who uses a crossbow to get the perfect shots on the monsters whenever they're set up. So a nightmare has been invading into the rings. And nightmares in this world are hideous creatures, usually with multiple limbs and multiple eyes. And this nightmare has really been pushing its way into the ring. So Luca and his team have been sent out to intercept it before it can get into the populated areas of the city. They get out there, the second in command lays a trap, uses some funky smelling bait to attract the nightmare, and they set up. Everybody hides. Luca sits there. Come on, you coward, I dare you to eat me. Until the nightmare charges him and tries to eat him, and then gets attacked by the twins and second in command after he gets caught in a trap, and then the sniper shoots it in the throat. Boom. Fight's over. So then Luca and his team head back to Drannith, and they have basically shore leave, or whatever you want to call it. They have time off, they're able to chill and relax. So Luke is coming back and he's really excited to meet his fiancée Jarina. He goes and he meets with her. Jarina is the daughter of the captain or Commander Kudrow, or whatever his name is, and she's his fiancée. She is also a Coppercoat, but not exactly a field-based Coppercoat, probably because her daddy's afraid to lose her. Either way. So they meet up, and they spend a night together. They wake up with barely a hangover at all. And then Luca gets called back in by General Kudrow to go and take care of a cat beast that has been invading and has already destroyed a few squads that have gone up against it. And it's a winged cat. That might look familiar, sort of. So the general sends Luca and his team out to intercept this cat. Up to this point, the nightmare and other beasts that we've kind of had some mention of, they're not exactly hyper intelligent. They fall for the bait and traps like all the other monsters in the past, etc., etc. This cat that they go to intercept, however, doesn't go for the bait immediately. They have these crystals that whenever a monster is nearby will start to light up and trigger a warning that the monster is nearby. The cat doesn't trigger the warning on the crystals. The cat knows that they have set the trap and reaches through the wall to grab and kill one of the twins. And then kills the other twin when the other twin goes in to try to kill the cat. Then it runs up and kills the sniper. This whole time, Luca and his second in command are scrambling and doing their best to try to intercept the cat, but they've lost all their squad. The second in command is about to get attacked, and Luca jumps between the second in command and the cat. And then all of a sudden, Luca blacks out. He wakes up in the infirmary, minor injuries. He doesn't know what's going on exactly, why he's there, what happened to his squad. He knows that he lost 3 of them. He didn't know about second in command, and he was curious about her. Second in command survived. Second in command filed a report that when Luca got between her and the giant winged cat, a green light emanated between the two of them, and the cat stopped attacking, and Luca passed out. This report is corroborated to the best of Luca's ability from what he says. He just says he remembers seeing a green light and then passing out. He doesn't know what happened after that. So Jarina meets him and tries to take the report to her father, General Kudrow. And when she takes the report to him, he mentions that this is reminiscent of some sort of disease that's been spreading where humans and monsters are becoming friends, and he's afraid that any human who becomes friends with the monsters is going to be an enemy of civilization and try to kill all the humans or whatever. So he's like, yeah, we're going to have to basically execute Luca. Sorry about your fiance. Too bad. Oh well. I didn't really like him that much anyway. Jarina, you're bad. Well, my lie. I liked him, and I thought he was going to be my second in command and replace me eventually. But I didn't really like him for you. So Jarina freaks out, and she wants to save her fiance. So she goes and meets Luca back in the infirmary. And she grew up as a kid inside of Drana. She knows the ins and outs and secret passageways, and she tells him how to escape. In order to escape, they pose that he is holding her at knife point and trying to escape out of the infirmary because of that. It's a ruse, and Jarina says she will tell her father eventually and try to smooth things over. So Luca is on the run from General Kudrow. General Kudrow commands that he is to be captured so that he can be executed. He's on the run, and he gets caught at the gates, and there's no way that these people are going to let him out of the gates because they realize it's the person they're supposed to be stopping based on the general's orders. So he's in a dire fight. He's going to be, in a fight like 5, 6, 7 against 1, and then Vivian shows up, and Vivian kind of helps him escape. So he and Vivian book it until they get out farther into the wilderness and they start trying to track down the cat. Vivian can link the magic of the bond a little bit, and she can help Luca find the cat. Vivian's here on the plane to examine the monsters and see what's so different about them, what makes them tick. And she was attracted to Drannith because of the magic of the bond that happened, which is kind of up her alley as a green mage, and having beasts inside of her bow with the special magic arc bow, arrows, and all that. So she's excited about it to see that these crazy monsters are starting to form long-term bonds with humans and not want to kill the humans and everything. So she offers to help Luca track down the cat. So they track down the cat together, and they find out that this formation of crystals called the Ozolith, which is the largest formation of crystals in the world, is sending out pulses that are forcing the animals, the monsters, to attack civilizations like Drannith purposefully. While they are meeting up with the cat and Vivian is helping him talk to the cat and do all that, Jarina and some mercenaries show up at the orders of General Kudrow to try to bring back Luca. And they fight briefly. Vivian ends up protecting him. And they escape on the back of the winged cat. They fly away on the winged cat so far and so fast that Jarina and the hunters can't exactly catch up with them on foot. So they call in a favor, and they get taken up to a floating city complex called Skycell, which is basically a bunch of flying machines that dock together and create one massive flying city in the sky. Pretty cool concept, in my opinion. And there's a ship there called the Vermilion that they're trying to hire. And they find the Vermilion. They offer to pay the dude money in order to help track down Luca and bring him back. And they know that they're headed up towards the Ozolith for the most part. On their way to the Ozolith, they meet Bryn and Roland. Bryn is a young girl living out in the wild with pink roly-poly fuzzy critter that has a big belly that she likes to jump on. And she's a bonder, just like Luca. And she knows other bonders. There's a bonder like Abda, who Ren calls Spiky, and her spiked badger called Rigi. And other bonders who have relationships with pets. So Bryn and Roland gather a bunch of them together, and they talk, and they're like, yeah, we should go to the Ozolith and see what's happening. There's a lot of nightmares hanging around there, and they're like guards for the Ozolith. It's terrifying. So that's another thing. They get more bonders, and they all kind of head towards the Ozolith together. They meet up with a bonder with one arm who lost her arm to her pet, to her companion who is now bonded to her and won't eat her arm again. A few other bonders with like flying creatures and smaller animals and larger animals. And the other named bonder that really gets a lot of attention is Barrow and his bonded cat Zeph, who generates lightning between its horns, and they use lightning together. So they all go with Vivian and Luca and the winged cat to the Ozolith to try to figure out what's going on and try to stop things. When they get to the Ozolith, they all agree that they'll stay and fight off the nightmares and hold the line, while Luca takes the winged cat and gets directly to the Ozolith and tries to communicate with it and see if he can fix the bond. When Luca touches the crystal of the Ozolith, he's transported to a mindscape. And in that mindscape, there's a voice. And that voice is, at least I think this is a familiar voice, based on the reading of the character. That's my theory that I'm going to hold for the end. So this voice is saying that he set up the Ozolith to do what it's doing. And it's not forcing the monsters to attack civilizations like Drannith, but it's more so encouraging them to get around to it faster than they would have if they were to live a longer life away from it. And it's mostly just an experiment for this character to see what can happen and how strong this civilization can hold itself together. So Luca is inside of this mindscape talking to this character. And Vivian knows about this character. Vivian states that this character likes to do tricks and things like that, which leads me to my guess at the end of this video. Likes to force issues and change things and tweak things kind of in the background. And she's kind of come to Ikoria, in addition to seeing the monsters, to see about stopping this character's improper use of plane-like abilities to go and mess with stuff in other worlds. So this character inside of the Ozolith mindscape asks Luca what he really wants, what he truly wants. And Luca's response is go home. To go home and protect his city and his people. And the voice says, what if I could give you that power? And the voice transfers the ability to supersede and or control the thoughts of all the monsters nearby. So Luca is able to tap into all these nightmares that are guarding the Ozolith and turn them into his own personal army. when the mercenaries and Jarina show back up on the Vermilion skyship to try to take down the Bonders and find Luca, it turns into pretty much a pitched three-way battle for a while. The Bonders against the Nightmares, the mercenaries against the Bonders, the Nightmares against the mercenaries, the Nightmares against the Bonders. Just like this crazy cluster of three armies facing off against each other. Until Luca exerts his control and makes it a two-sided battle, where it's the Bonders and the Nightmares against the mercenaries and Vermilion the skyship. Luca is drunk with power at this point and has a very large snake-like nightmare reach up into the sky and start to pull down the Vermilion skyship while Jarina is still on it. He's drunk with power and he's like, yeah, that's right, I'm going to destroy all those who stand in the way of me coming home and protecting my people and sharing my time with my fiancée Jarina. And then he realizes, oh, Jarina's on the skyship. The cat flies off, knocks out Jarina, and that's the last we hear for a little while. After the battle's over with and all the mercenaries are dead and Vermilion is grounded and the Nightmares are under control, Luca walks around and tries to find survivors. Luca doesn't find Jarina and he freaks out and he's a little bit sad. He also, as an afterthought, is like, oh yeah, that cat thing that I was bonded to that pissed me off and sent me away from my home is gone too. Oh well. Not like I care. Then Vivian and the other Bonders kind of confront him about the way that he's controlling the Nightmares. And this turns into a battle as well, because he doesn't want to relinquish his power and control over the Nightmares. He thinks, this is how I will protect Drannith. This is how I will be accepted back to Drannith, when I have an army of monsters to defend Drannith from monsters. And he starts to try to exert control over the Bonders' bonded animals as well. But because of the bond, he can't exert the control as well. Which makes sense. The Bonders kind of help provide a buffer and an anchor for the monsters to preserve their self-identity. So eventually they run off because they can't overpower all the Nightmares being controlled by Luca, because he can just send them in with them exhibiting no fear of being injured or killed. He can just send them in as just tools, weapons to be used, and he's proud and happy. And Vivian is disappointed in Luca and is very upset that he is the way that he is with this, and tells him that she thought he was a good man, but he's comes to Luca's mind that he should just take his army of monsters, go back to Drannith, and prove that he can replace or come back and be in the same place within his community as he was before, and even maybe a little bit more so take over as general or whatever, because he has the power to defend the city. So he starts heading that way. So you have a character who's drunk on power, whose sole reason to be drunk on power is to be allowed back into his home so he could be with his fiancée, the deal of Jarina, who has no clue where his fiancée is and has given up like looking for her, and is just like, well, I guess she might be alive somewhere. So his mind's warped a little bit, and it seems to get a little bit crazier the closer he gets to the city. While all this is going on, the flying cat has brought Jarina back to the city. It sets down on the walls of the city. Jarina begs that they spare its life and not kill it because it saved her. And she meets with her father, General Kudrow. She meets with Kudrow and is given time to rest up and everything, and then is brought out on stage in front of everyone. And General Kudrow is afraid that people will think that she is a bonder or against civilization because this flying cat monster saved her and brought her back to the city. So he tries to get her to execute it. She refuses. She says that she can't because it saved her. And so General Kudrow kills the cat himself. When that happens, Luca feels the cat's death. Feels and sees around the cat. He sees Jarina is there. He sees the cat and he feels the cat's emotion of contentment that it was able to save Jarina, who its bonded person is in love with. And then a sense of despair and sadness, but overall acceptance that it's going to die, but it has done the right thing. And Luke is like, oh, cool, my flying cat thing is dead. I'm no longer bonded to it, but Jarina's safe, and that's fine. And that leads into my issues with story versus the cards. So, we'll discuss that closer to the end. Kudrow chops off the cat's head. And they hear word that there's an army of monsters coming, and Luca is at the head of it. Jarina freaks out, and she tries to get the Bonders and Vivian to help defend the city. As they approach, monsters start to invade the city's rings, and General Kudrow is up on the front lines. He's with his men. Luca doesn't want to destroy the city. He just wants to be accepted back, so he asks for a meeting with Kudrow. And the meeting goes poorly. Kudrow's like, you're insane, I would never allow you back. We have to kill you. And so Luca kills him. Then Jarina's mad because she saw her fiance kill her father in front of her eyes. And then she tries to kill Luca. Luca attacks her and doesn't even care if she dies now. He's like, you're a traitor. You can die like all the others, blah, blah, blah. Again, his mind is warped and he's going crazy and he's drunk on power. So, Kudrow dies, Jarina escapes, makes it back to the city, takes command, and starts to form a plan with the defenders of Drannith as well as the Bonders and their companions and everything. And Vivian. So when the monsters begin to further invade the city of Drannith, they set the ballistay, they man the walls, they do their best to defend. And at the very last moment, when the walls are being breached, the monsters are getting in, Vivian leads the charge. Just before she leads the charge, she's like, man, I wish Narset was here. She could help, but who knows where she is on this plane and what she's doing, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. Again, loophole, missing a ton of the story, etc., etc. Vivian leads the stampede along with a bunch of other Bonders, and they do their best to kind of turn the tide. And they do, for the most part. Eventually, the battle is over. Luca is about to die. And he blacks out. Battle is over. Jarina's in charge of the city. The companions and Bonders are allowed to stay outside of the city proper. And it seems like all is right with the world. Hey, these people helped us. All of a sudden, they're changing centuries of history and saying, oh yeah, these monsters can be on our city walls because they helped us. Then Luca wakes up on another plane in a swampy area. And it seems like there's wolf creatures that are coming after him. There's 3 of them. And he reaches out with power he thought he had from the Ozolith that's disappeared and his connections have been shattered from it. And he reaches out with that power and he's able to scare away 2 of the beasts, and one of the beasts actually falls under his control. So he has some limited control over monsters like he did when he had control of the Ozolith powers. And that's the end of the story. That's pretty much it. We don't have much more information besides that. There's so much missing. There's so many loopholes and plot points that are gone background information, world building, character building that is just missing from this book. We got half a book, and that's all Wizards deemed to give us. I'm almost certain that Django had more written. And I'm disappointed in how this whole thing has turned out as far as the novel. So moving on. Now I'm moving into the cards and the story not matching up. Tentative connection. The flavor text on this card. Luca was ordered to kill a threat. He chose to make a friend. No. Luca was ordered to kill a threat. He failed. He accidentally bonded with a creature that he used as a tool and despised for even being related to him in any way, and chose to use it as a tool until it died. And he didn't care at all. Another option is go for blood. Luca's bond not only provided friendship, but also the most powerful weapon in his. No. Luca's bond didn't provide friendship. He did not care for the cat one bit. The cat seemed loyal to him, but he only used it as a tool. And that's just really aggravating to me. That the story and the cards don't match up at all. And those are just the two most primary examples that I have of this going on. But in the flavor text of other cards in the set, there's things that just don't line up with the story. Now moving on to the speculative part. Who was the voice? Who messed with the Ozolith and made it attack civilization? Oko. It was Oko. Oko the trickster. Oko the hater of captivity. Oko the hater of civilization. Oko the one who despises anyone exerting their control over other sentient beings. Oko who, from what we could tell from the story and the Wildred Quest, Oko who wants to watch civilization burn down to the ground around. Oko the Joker from the Dark Knight trilogy. That's who was behind this whole thing. Because it was a playful voice, a trickster voice within the Ozolith. One that offered power to someone to break bonds and protect those he cared for. It's Oko all day. And I don't know if it was intended that we never found out who this actually was, even though Vivian kind of mentioned either trickster, and I could read between the lines. I'm pretty sure that. But again, this information was missing from the book. That is it for me. That's it for it. Short-ish video, about the length of a gameplay video. A lot of background and story and lore and everything. Very disappointed. I missed the days of wonderful Magic the Gathering storytelling, like with the Lorwyn Shadowmoor block and the novels that you would get in the fat packs with that. All that stuff was great. And then, like, recently we've had terrible luck with War of the Spark Forsaken, the lack of any story in Theros, and then this story here being pretty much garbage. The Wildred Quest was actually pretty good. Plenty of information, a more well-rounded, satisfying book. This Sundered Bond, absolutely nothing satisfactory about it as far as like world building and characters and stuff. That's what I've got for you. This is Logrith with the Jank Factory signing off. Happy magicking, everyone.